You're listening to Polymatic.media, episode 41 for June 17th, 2018. Welcome to the Polymaticast. Hey, John, how's it going?
Pretty good. How about you?
Yeah, busy weekend. It's also Father's Day this Sunday. So when the show comes out, happy Father's Day to everyone.
Yeah, I guess so.
Where it applies, of course.
So, what have you been doing?
Working a lot. made a bunch of it's been sort of not a struggle so much, maybe a little struggle, just finding time to work on the unnamed app, but I've made some significant progression there. And yeah, so I've been kind of working here and there a little bit, lately in the last couple weeks, actually, since we probably last talked. It's really been like maybe one moment in one day where I spend maybe a half hour on it or something. So I ran into some kind of scenario trouble for something I was doing, and it's sort of a tricky thing. And so I need to put more thought than 30 minutes of my time on it. So yeah, that's where I'm at with that little piece. But I made some changes that were significantly an improvement, which are on the path of it getting more completion and just being I'm sort of in a planning stage. So that is kind of what I've been doing. I've been building up little things for the planning of the next iteration of actions I need to go work on. Yeah. So progress, but nothing to something fancy to show anybody that's worth talking about. So, okay. Though I just did.
So I've been rebuilding a server. Yeah. So I've had a NAS in my house for a while, and I had an old Dell R210, which is a nice server at the time as well. I put 2 gigs in it then, and it was like one of my 3 physical web servers that I had in the data center at some point. But then I virtualized everything because one of my the hosting company that I had my server with. It's not the company I work for, by the way. Right. One of their employees decided to run off with all the money, and their internet connection got shut off. So I had to go rescue my servers from the data center. Sometimes.
Oh, that's terrible.
That's a story I'll tell sometime. As soon as enough time has passed, so I can name them. Okay, never mind. So I brought my 210 home, and I never looked at it again. Right. I tried to turn it on a while back and put a little hard drive in it, but the hard drive was not fast enough, which caused some issues when I tried to run Minecraft on it. But then one of my SSDs came free. I had an SSD to spare because my Mac Mini died. So I decided, okay, I'll put the hard drive from the Mac Mini into my PC, and I'll put the SSD that I took out of my PC into the server, and that got me onto a track for replacing the fans in it because I didn't want it to sound like a hurricane in my closet. Swamps in my closet are well enough, right? I don't want a hurricane in there. So I replaced those. That went really well, by the way. It was really easy because Noctua comes with these Noctua fans. They're like 40 by 20 millimeters, and they come with little clamps, so you can take any other connector, clip it, and then reconnect them with a gel thing. You just clamp them on something else, and then on the other cable, and then you can just make your own connectors. That's pretty cool. And you just plug in your cable, and that works really well. So I did that, and then I went looking for RAM because I wanted more RAM in it. And turns out there's a difference between ECC memory and registered ECC memory.
Oh, yeah.
So you have normal memory, ECC memory, and registered ECC memory. Registered ECC memory is a lot cheaper than ECC memory. Unbuffered ECC memory. So eBay sellers put that into your message so somebody doesn't buy 16 gigs worth of memory. Right? Yeah. Okay. It was kind of my fault as well because I didn't know the difference. They did put it in the message. It just wasn't really clear. And then when I looked it up, it doesn't say ECC anywhere in the specs for that thing. So it's it doesn't mention ECC anywhere. So there's some people to blame. One of them is me. But mistakes were made. So I spent about $150 on memory. and that was like 2 sets of memory. So first I bought 4x4 from an eBay seller in the UK, and then I bought 4 gigs from a local seller who I can't return it to because they don't take returns for some reason. That was fun. So if you purchase the wrong memory, you can't return it. The one from the UK said, okay, just send it back. You're paying for shipping, so we don't care. So I'm sending that back, getting a refund for that. Just the Dutch one doesn't take any returns, so that's kind of shitty. But hey, but now I know what kind of memory I want. Problem is, I can't find that memory from a seller that takes returns, which is something I'm focusing on right now. Yeah, I can get like 2, like 3 sticks of 2. That would be okay. I can get that. I should get that. And I'll get 8 gigs of memory in the server and should be fine for just hosting a couple of Minecraft worlds or something like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I can also replace the processor in it for like a Xeon processor. But then I would probably need to change the fans to replace to get like 2 sets of fans in there, like to Y split it into 2 sets of fans. Yeah, because that's a lot more heat. But right now it stays like at 37 degrees Celsius. So I don't know what that is in.
Well, it's going to be over 70 degrees. I can tell you that.
Well, if a 37 is 100, right?
So whatever 32 plus 1.8.
About
100
degrees
1.8 plus 32. So about 100, yeah.
The cores are stuck at 100 Fahrenheit. So it's pretty good. It's like I won't get worried unless it hits like 90 for now. But for the Minecraft server, it works without a hitch. It's really nice. It currently has a 250 gig SSD in there. I'm planning on upgrading that either to like a terabyte or put like 2 extra drives in there and then replace the 3D print like a case for an SSD, let that be my boot drive, and then put like 2 12 terabyte hard drives in there or something like that for storage. And then let it be my home server for my home and have it be my NAS. I think that's a good idea. 12 terabytes of storage is nice. I could put Dropbox on there and everything else. And then finally replace that Synology NAS that's been aging. Mm-hmm. And I've already replaced the hard drive in that thing, so might as well just eventually
Synology
just replace it completely.
I mean, I found out about them because of you. They're pretty nice.
Good. They're pretty good. The only problem is the processing amount of processing it has on this thing because it's really old. So it's like Raspberry Pi territory of speed. So yeah, running a surveillance station and stuff on that it's not good, not good at all. So either I'm just gonna buy some big hard drives and put that in there, just have it, and it has an external SATA connector, so I can even put like a separate drive bay in it, and like have it all connect through eSATA. That should be fine. I just really suck at buying RAM. It's like I spend too much money on that. I'm getting some of it back. I might just sell one of these sticks and just get one of them to like somebody else who can use it. Mm-hmm. Maybe make a little profit on it.
I mean, very early in my career, I was part of the IT staff that built and racked servers. So knowing and understanding the difference and also appreciating the evolution of server technology. You're certainly working with something. I don't know how old that because I'm not familiar with those models. Not that makes any difference at the moment, but let's assume it's a 1U. There was days where 1U was not a thing. What's a 1U, right? You know what I mean? So if you keep that in mind, I remember things that were literally like the equivalent of like an 8U or a 6U. They weren't even bladed yet. I mean, that was an early thing that like Sun came up with. But going back is like appreciating a couple things. One, no, these things are always on industrial level things. Yes, there's some vendor BS, You want to go back to early days talking about IBM stuff. Like, there's a bunch of vendor BS of like how different it really is. What the truth factors are there. There's lots of that, and there is actually some truth to some of these things. But there's also these other cases where the cost of buying the server version of it also is attached to a person that will show up in your data center at 3 a.m. in the morning to go fix your problem for
Yeah,
you
if you pay enough.
if you pay, you pay with the pristine boutique nature of the cost of that one, part. So, but they're also a little bit more industrial tested and ironclad tested equipment that is designed for always on, always running. And there's a lot of power sustained and heat and power regulation things that are in those things than the crap that's sitting in your laptop or your desktop or full tower computer. Servers
I
are
knew
not
the difference between normal RAM and ECC.
Right.
I knew that there was a difference. I just didn't know that there was going to be a difference between the two different versions of that technology.
So when I lived in that world, I got to very clearly appreciate the differences and understand the differences, and you go back to manufacturer spec and you look up exactly what you need, because all the smallest things can make a change, and also the health of how the thing works. But the advantage is, even with these like old servers I have in the house, it's so easy to pop a little lid off. It's so easy to replace a fan. It's so easy to replace a drive. It's so easy to replace the processor. It's so easy to have access to your memory and just pop it out. Boom, boom, boom. Why don't they put these in full towers, right? That's like the conversation you always get. You get these little spring-loaded knobs and you pull it up, you swap in and out. 30 seconds, you're done and you're up and running again.
Well, that's what the modern PCs, it's the same thing, right?
Well, it is now, but there is like 20 years of this not happening. If it's only been in the last few years where when building your own desktop computer has been really a great thing, like, getting away from IDE cables, right? And getting like SATA cables, right? Cables that aren't all flat. You know what I mean? Like, the nightmare is now that there's such a vanity aesthetic to seeing inside your full tower where it's lit up and it's under your desk where no one can see it. People have really re-engineered and thought about these things that, oh, by the way, has been in place for most server technology for a long time. I mean, that's really where they're coming
apart from being silent, right? Because that's the thing that these things are not.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I had the thing on. I reinstalled it with Debian. And the first thing I noticed was like, this thing is really, really, really loud. Now you can manage this a little bit because you can set it to OS control for the fans. But then again, these things are really loud. They're like over 10,000 RPM, like really loud fans. So I decided to just replace the fans.
The anecdote I always share is we were having an anime club in the old house, and I had a bunch of servers running. Literally some actual servers that I got from work, and also old computer or something I turned into like a air quote server, home server in the house, running things, operating things. And so storm was happening. We were all sitting. We were sitting upstairs. We weren't even sitting downstairs. The accessibility to hearing the fan noise through the compartmentalized area, sealed off area of the basement could be heard more easier through a door versus a whole floor. The power went out. We were all hanging out on the couches, and power went out. And everything went down. They go, how will we know when it comes back on? I said, you'll hear the house come alive again. And they go, what do you mean? I said, well, you got to wait for the house to reboot. And then all of a sudden, at that moment, the power came back, and you heard boop, 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 boop. And then all the things and lights came back on and whatever. And the house literally rebooted in about 30 seconds. And then all the things became functional again. Yeah. And so I said, yeah, that's how you know. I said, and the internet is up and operating now again. So
I think I think with the advent of the Raspberry Pi, a lot of people have like a little tiny thing in their house that they could serve as their
Right.
home server. But I think that one of these machines probably a lot faster, a lot more power in it
Mm-hmm.
to do the things I want to do.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Even if
So,
it's 5 years old.
oh,
Yeah.
this thing is like 9 years old.
Oh, yeah. The ones
But you
that
can
I
get the server hardware in that is better than was available for like the consumer market back then. So it's
Right.
like maybe 4 5 years old
Mhm.
when you think about it. When it's been in the closet for uh 8 years. I think I got this machine when it came out. So I was looking for a server because my all other servers were like aging, so I had to replace them. And I just bought this one off Dell, and then yeah, I got it and was in the data center for like a year and a half,
Mhm.
and then the thing happened. So yeah, I think for the hardware that's in there, it's like maybe 4 or 5 years old, and it hasn't been used in the last 7 years.
Yeah, the four, no, the six that I have, I picked up because, so here's the gotcha. There was a room where I was sitting, where my office was, and they're like, "Hey, Alan, you have a lot of IT experience." One of the guys, one of the account consultant guys came down, and they were filling this room where they were pulling out old servers. And old servers back then could have been, maybe it was about 2 years old, and because the guy who ran basically the server data center, he was smart about this conversation piece where what he would do is every he would buy new servers, prep them, put them into the data center, pull out the old ones. That's it. Didn't matter whether there were problems or not. He just, so that the service levels were high, and the 99.999 factor in keeping the lights
Yeah.
on was very high, and so we had incredibly high success rate. We also got very good at moving, especially when we got in the business of VMs, moving servers around, pulling things up, swapping them out in seconds, and literally moving stuff off to geographical data centers within about 5 seconds of switching over, and never interrupting anything, right? We
Yeah.
got very good at DR, and we would do it quarterly. And then we would pull old servers out, put new servers in, light them up, replicate them back, boom, 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 switch them back. And we would do this often enough, and we were very good at it. And so the result of it is he had lots of these spare things. So they just put it in this old conference room, and it kept building up. And the one guy came along, and he literally just wiped all the drives. And then a VP comes over and goes, "Alan, I need you to help get people to pick a server." And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "The announcement will come out in a minute. So this is what we're doing, blah, blah, blah." And so it's like, okay, cool. So, but this is the a-hole thing that he did. He said to me, "Oh, but you can't take the best of the crop first. You have to make sure you can only pick up with whatever's left." I'm like, oh, okay. So I was like, I'm not going to take these home. And then after my whole day of helping people find a server to take home, the result of it ended up being that I had a bunch of kind of crappy servers, the best of what was available left. And so the reason that they did this is they found that it was cheaper for them to wipe everything, clean everything out, and open it up to all employees in that office to go ahead and take a server, if you want, home, to have a home server, instead of paying a company to recycle them very expensively, because they put premium costs on servers. And so that was cheaper for them to do it that way than it was to, give it away and say, okay, you have to sign a contract, because they had lawyers and, made up a thing that's saying, okay, you can't sell this, you can't, and it can't come back to us, right? And I'm probably past the point where I probably could sell these things, but no one would buy these things. So
They're so
ended
ancient.
up with like 6 of them, and I honestly didn't pull aside best servers for myself. I did as he asked, because I was thinking, oh, I'll never take any of these. And then I started looking at it, I go, but a home server, I could replace that box. You know, I started thinking about it. So it was a neat thing, and that's how I ended up with 6 of these things.
We used to host a backup of Shortener on one of those
I
things.
did. And then I did have a couple high-end servers, and I did put one with nice at the time, reasonably nice old graphic cards in it because I wanted to do a bunch of turning it into a media encoder box.
Render farm.
Yeah, basically. And so I had trouble because this was one of those higher, nicer boxes, but also had some problems. It was working just fine, and all of a sudden it died. And so I was like, okay, enough of these. And then I turned them all off, and boy, my power bill go down. But these we're talking real data center boxes. Now, you got to keep in mind, these were not, because these were the lower end boxes, not the high end boxes. These are, were on the edge of being out of date. I don't know. It had to be, when was that? At least more than 10 years ago, probably. Yeah, about 10 years ago. So even though these are high-end, very, very nice for their time, they were on the edge of not worthy.
Ancient.
Definitely, especially in today's date, of not selling them, reselling them. Yeah. So I got a pile of collection of old home servers and parts and monitors and stuff that I need to take over to a township recycling thing that I haven't done yet. It's been piling up.
Well, I better do that before we see your house in hoarders.
Yeah, well, I don't have that problem. I just have lots of old stuff that I'm like, I never did anything with that. I need to get rid of that. I've accepted that problem.
That's the whole premise of the show, Hoarders.
Is it really? Yeah.
People not getting rid of stuff that they need to get rid of.
I've never been that bad. My roommate, however, I can't say that isn't a factor, because every once in a while, like once a month, I actually look around my surroundings in the house and I go, why? And I just trash stuff. He doesn't complain.
So we call these servers pizza boxes over here. So this is the type of servers that I have.
Yeah, they're about that size.
Pizza boxes. Yeah, about the size of pizza boxes.
One U-blades.
I clearly remember a wall of pizza boxes at some point. That's kind of hoarder behavior.
So for those who don't know what actual servers look like, they come in what we call U's. So 1U, 2U, 3U. Rarely, you can get 4U's. Those are really the big beasts.
Oh yeah, if you have a Blade Center, there's like 8.
Yeah, and they used to. So I remember I had a friend of mine who worked at a very big internet company, at least for the U.S. We're talking like the company that was exactly part of how the internet became public back in the late 90s for the rest of the U.S. and then the rest of the world. And so he worked for that company, who also then got bought by a very big telecom company, which got bought by the bigger one over the course of its history. But fundamentally, he was sort of one of the data center managers, and that needs to be its own topic. Data centers, like the building and the architecture of data centers, is actually very interesting. But we were walking around, and he's like, yeah. He said, I'd been there a couple times when I was visiting out his way, and he's like, oh yeah, let me show you the new stuff. He said, we got this new big backup robot. And so he was showing me that. We were walking by. He's like, oh yeah, we took a meeting the other day with Sun, which was interesting. They were asking us for the kind of features we wanted in the servers. And I says, yeah. He's like, we're prototyping something right now. And he's like, let me show you. He goes, okay, so that was last month's brand new 8U server. He's like, yeah. I said, let me walk you over to the other house. And then he opens up a rack and he goes, yeah, they've got it down to 1U now. I go, sweet. And I said, oh, it's also twice as fast. I go, sweet. And so this is the beginning of, we're talking very late 90s, the beginning of Blades, right?
Yeah.
Where everything is now spoken about in 1Us, and this streamlined stuff, like when you popped open your server, like that factor, right? All that stuff. And all the companies that build servers came very quickly into a line with, oh yeah, that's a good idea. So you could literally rack up your router and 5 servers in 5 different slots right underneath it in the rack.
Yeah.
And then you could put together a 4U, NAS or SAN, right, drive array, right, just right under it, and it could be in one closet. And that used to not be the case. It used to be you'd have to have 5 rows, and you'd have like a hallway of these things.
Well, we threw out. We were moving the company to another building, and we had in the attic like giant. I think they were IBM and Dell blade centers. So they were like at least 1 amp, like 2 amp, 220, 240 volts. This is like lots of power. So I was like, could I run this thing at home? Like I turned it on. I was like,
oh
no, I'm not running this at home.
No, you'd have to put a special thing at home.
I had to take care of that, and I had to take out the drives and destroy them. Man, I spent so much time destroying those hard drives.
Actual service technology and data center technology is very interesting, and you'd be surprised when real money is put behind something and with real care. And when you get a corporation that says yes because it is a cheap insurance plan by comparison to invest correctly, you'd be surprised of how innovative and how well like craftsmanship is going into these things. Like I said, pulling out a drive, swapping it, and just letting it restripe in about 10 seconds, and then you're up and running again. Like, these things came out of not because someone built a great invention, it's because business drove it to do this and had a reason for profit. Your whole Web 1.0 drove a lot of these things, in Web 2.0, because there's so much money in e-commerce, drove this technology and the companies to put the right people on it to be sort of the Teslas of server technology. And that's, you'd be surprised, but there's few of them that make stuff. Dell, HP, I don't know that IBM makes supercomputers. They're more legacy than they are
I think
brand
we had
new.
an IBM Blade Center too.
Yeah. So Sons, I don't know if they are still making hardware or not anymore. I would have to assume. Yeah, I mean, there's more than just those main companies. But I worked for one company in the early 2000s. And
we know you're old.
Yeah, I got that. So in the early 2000s for several years, and they were in the business of making big refrigerator cabinet size servers. But these things were meant for big things. Like the reason that Data Center 32 was built by Microsoft was for those very servers. The reason that they had, because these boxes had 32 processors in them. I mean, individual processors. No hyper-threading didn't exist yet. No like cores, right? Just a single processor. And these things were amazing and humongous. And even back then could hold 64 gigs of RAM, no problem. And so, and the level of server technology back then was different than it is today. But those were so high-end, like, running your the statistics for your whole country level. Now we're not talking like super cooled supercomputers, but like so big, huge kind of systems like that, that they were even rebadged by some of these companies like HP and or Dell at times. It was always interesting to see when those major companies were rebadging someone else's like very high end thing that they haven't gotten to.
The one thing that I hope at some point will happen is that people will get onto the fact that there's people who want a server for their home, so you can have like a silent machine in your house that is powerful yet silent and can be
Right.
on 24/7. Don't eat so much power,
Yeah.
right? So like the last time we recorded an episode, I was in his room and it was really, really, really warm in here because I was rendering some stuff
Oh yeah, that's
on
right.
the server.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I need to put that somewhere else, right? It wasn't on the server, but I was rendering it on my gaming slash recording machine.
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, I should probably not do that.
Yeah, well, the new things that where like the NVIDIA Teslas go into, the really big supercomputer buildings of the world, those places are usually attached to like big, huge research centers or universities. It's interesting if you ever find those videos you see talk about those data centers. Those places literally have parts of their building that are, this whole room is racks full of like NVIDIA Tesla. And then all their fiber, right? They don't have wires. They have fiber running over to this part of the building where this is all the processors. Oh, and
Yeah,
let me
but
take you over to the
that's
memory.
all stuff for people, for companies and stuff. But what I'm
Yeah.
thinking about more is like servers for people's homes. Like
Right.
people have lots of data, and all the data is in the cloud. All the data is
Mhm.
outside of their house. As soon as those servers burn down, you don't have a copy.
Mhm.
Right? Something infects Dropbox, everything is gone.
Sure, you're right.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's something that I worry about because I have lots of data. I have like
Yeah.
at least 400 gigs in Dropbox right now, but I have it all backed up on like separate drives and separate
Right.
machines. But having something like I have a Synology NAS at home, so that saves some of the things, and that can be on 24/7. That's fine because I can reference
Yeah.
that if I need to. That
And
also
those
does the
are-
backup.
Those
But
are also very good,
they're very
affordable
good.
solutions.
But
In-
if you want to run your own Minecraft server at home, if you want to do some home automation, you want to do some of your own projects and put them on
Yeah.
your own machine at home, right? There's nothing there that's really ready for that. You can buy a PC and just put
Right.
Linux on it and just let it run that. But then you waste like a gaming PC, right? Because if you want to get one, you're going to get one with power in it, right? So
And if you're, your Linus of a company that has, a ton of gear sitting around from reviews and whatever, and he's got an office that has power, high industrial power, and has all the things, for him, it's easy for him to create a server farm much, much easier. Plus, there's money and profit and reasons to do it. And, so when Lions Tech Tips does these things, he's not doing it he's monetizing the video in doing it, but he's also doing it for his business. And he's got a whole lot of infrastructure and also SKUs and inventory just sitting around to go pull to do this, to build his own thing, to build his own solution. And
what
try
I
it
liked
out.
was the video he did with iJustine. I think he also did with Marquez Brownlee,
Right, the Storinator.
the Storinator.
Yeah.
That's a very interesting video because but those things are not available here, right? But
Yeah,
I could get like a Threadripper for like $500. I can get that and just build one of those machines. But then again, I don't have ECC memory. I don't have any of the hardware that's ready for being on 24/7. I can build a PC for my house, which is fine, but it can't be on 24/7 because it's not
Right.
built for that. So
Right.
what I really like is something affordable with the hardware, right? So I could buy a server and then modify it so it becomes silent and that. But that will always be an older server, right? So you're always going to be stuck with something old.
Right.
I could buy, of course, I can buy another pizza box from Dell, which would be recent, right? I could do that. But then I'd void my warranty by changing the fans in it because it's too loud.
Well, you said the pizza box again, and that started the one tangent a while ago. The one final point on that is that when you, or actually these servers, right, even if they're 2U, they come in two fashions. Sometimes they're the pizza box in length, like, how long, how deep. Sometimes there are 2 or 3 pizza boxes in length. So got to keep in mind that, these servers, the bladed technology is that it's literally lateral. It's just, you think, oh, I got a closet. Yeah,
Well,
a pizza box server could go in there.
between a blade center, which is like they are vertical, so you put them on sideways,
Mm-hmm.
like they're this way.
Well, you can route them either way. I mean, depending on what you buy.
No, if you're looking at a specific, if you're specifically looking at a blade center, they are always vertical. If you're looking at the normal 1U style thing, they're always horizontal.
Usually horizontal. Yeah.
So and the blade centers have like they have technology on board for like routing, for the networking, for extra power supplies, and the blades themselves are just the processing units with the memory and the hard drives that go in it. And usually there's like a NAS attached to the blade centers, which through where all the data gets from. But yeah, those things, those blade centers are loud.
Oh yeah, they're very loud. No, and
we had a data center in our office. We had like it used to be a house, and the company that owns the house rented it to us for a very large amount of money, and we had like a data center in there. So we one of the sysadmins, we should have him on sometime. It's going to be a fun, interesting story. But he had like in one of the rooms he had a data center built. So there's like a raised floor, and there was an air conditioning unit in it. There was like one giant case, and there were like 2 or 3 blade centers in it. And then when we left there, I had to take all that shit out, which was very painful for me. Because I think I had like 5 or 6 cuts on my hands alone from moving all that stuff. Oh man.
One of the more impressive ones from a company I worked at. We were in a basically office corporate center building, and we had a generator installed, and it was attached to our office, to our part of the building, not the whole building. And so we would kill power every once in a while to run the whole office to test the generator. Again, just as much as we would do DR tests all the time there. But it was just impressive where you could hear a little bit of some fan noise through some doors. And then, if you had access like I did, you could tap in, go into the data center, and all of a sudden you're walking up a ramp to a raised floor of cabling is underneath all that. That's why they do that. Plus also there's basically AC underneath there. And then there's all these rows of racks with all the servers. And, it was a reasonably impressive data center, especially inside a small footprint, because it had the Halcyon, suppression system.
Halon, not Halcyon. It's like Halcyon.
Halcyon, what did I say? Halcyon. Halon. We had to change that a couple of times because, if the alarm went off and you were there and you couldn't get out in time, it would suffocate you.
Did.
Yeah. So we had changed it eventually. But also, every power strip had basically ping and telnet, what we call fingers on them, where you could literally through the network go ahead and test and make sure everything through I'm blanking on it. But basically the network protocol stuff that you can do to be able to check everything from a center. We could see how much power usage was and what was heating up, and we could remotely shut stuff down. What?
SNMP?
That's it. Yeah. My head was going to the mail protocol.
That's a different one.
I was just recently plagued by this at work. So that's where my head's been with that acronym. So it was very impressive. And it wasn't like anything new to me. It was just that that we as a company did that to an office building instead of a whole dedicated building somewhere in the desert. So I thought that was very impressive for definitely for its time, and so anyhow.
Anyway, if you I'll take a lead on the fun stuff. If you want to see how to silence an R210 Dell server, Polymatic link/J7. I took that as an example and I was like, yeah, I'll buy these. So I bought the exact fans.
How easy was it?
Oh, it was so easy.
Yeah.
Because the fans from the Dell, you just take them out. You just lift them out. You don't have to screw anything.
Yep.
Take them out.
It's just, again, appreciate how good good. How easy is that? I mean, it was just designed for you to repair it on the fly as quick as possible.
Yeah.
And that goes
But
along with the price.
that's happening. That's happening in the normal world right now too. So.
Yeah, but it's just interesting is they got very good at that stuff very quickly. Dell was definitely in that range of I would say, I don't know if they invented that stuff, but they were the first to start employing that very early on, like 15 years ago plus.
Well, you see the same thing with the Noctua servers with the rubber. They have like rubber things that you can just pull through one of the holes.
Yep.
And you can just attach it really quickly, and you can take it off really quickly.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. They do that too. So yeah. It was a real easy job compared to the swapping the memory.
Yeah. I think the server stuff and home server stuff could be a very longer conversation than we had enough here already.
I'm thinking of doing a video where I go and grab a recenter server off eBay or something and just convert it into like a home server with lots of storage or something like that.
Yeah.
Right, do something like that for.
I probably should pop open one of these old server boxes to show people sort of like the difference. And you could do a sort of a review on yours as well, maybe by comparison. Put that video together. So that was Polymatic.link J7.
Yes.
If you guys want to check that out, I watched it and it took me back. And I'm more than the person who talks a lot with my job experience. So, keep that in mind. I haven't had a thought about servers because it's not been my day job, thing that I had to worry about for a very long time. I'm not. I don't know. It's a skill that never goes away. It just gets updated. The way that stuff works. So. Someone built an Enigma machine, virtually though, in code, and also gave a pretty good description if anyone doesn't know what an Enigma machine is. But I will say it is the forefather for encryption, and actually even maybe a lot of your miming technologies that go into a lot of what the web is built on. So building an Enigma machine, Polymatic.link/JD.
It just made me want to build one with an Arduino or something like that.
Yeah. Look, I understood all this stuff because I've seen the videos and I've, well explored this topic just out of curiosity. And as someone who's made very basic encryption technologies very early on, even back in early 2000s myself, it's interesting, and it shows the thinking of why everyone does stuff a certain way today. And it has a lot to do with it. And it's a war technology, but that I will say, has changed the world. I know it's lame to say that, but sadly, this is true. It is part of how the rest of the world operates after the fact. So, Polymatic.link/JD. Did you watch this? Obviously, you watched it, John. Yeah. What do you think?
Well, like I said, I wanted to build one with like an Arduino or something like that.
Yeah. So I don't know. I thought it was pretty good.
Make it like a physical with like dials and stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. That could be an art project.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think until you go work for Adam Savage, or Tested, you'll never build this thing.
It's like project number 5,966.
Oh. If I had time and lots of money in the world to sit around and do whatever I wanted, I might build this.
Well, it basically would come down to designing the 3D parts, printing the 3D parts, getting the rotary encoders to get the positions of the rotaries things,
right?
And then maybe some plugs and things for.
There's got to be someone on the replica prop forum that probably has like props, has 3D printable things. But designing it yourself would be really nice. Like maybe have like a wireless connection to it, so you can have like two of them, and between the two they can send messages. But I'm escalating the project already, so you see where that's going. So, or you could just build your own encryption stuff and then build a little app that does messaging and call it a day.
Yeah,
get that done in about.
The thing is more because of the Enigma's history. I think it's a nice project because of that, right? So having something that would look the part and then still be like modern because it has like an Arduino in it with Wi-Fi connection, or like LoRa network. You can send Enigma messages over LoRa. That's a nice project.
You can have all your Internet of Things that are running your house as mini home servers running over your Enigma protocol.
Let's not. It'll be very slow. Anyway,
Yes, it
so
would be.
I found this video. I saw this video. I was like, yeah, this is a really good video for this show. So Linus Tech Tips did a video about sub $50 microphones.
Yep.
One of the microphones I used to use here for recording these episodes was on there too. Well, not that version, but I got a more expensive one. But it's really good. Polymatic.media/J6, how to not sound like a jerk.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously I have some opinion about all these
you're
things.
a microphone snob. So.
No, I'm really not. I just have more direct experience with it. Now, with that, there are microphone snobs, and they do have $4,000, microphones.
Yeah, but
I don't have any
for
of
like
those.
getting that microphone for playing games, like the $50
Sure,
limit
right.
is for this list is pretty good.
That's reasonable.
They even put in the XLR thing, right? You can upgrade those things, and USB to XLR is fine if you're just recording yourself.
And they maintain to do it under about $50. But you could take that same XLR adapter, which is reasonable, and then bump it up with like $100 microphone, and you'll have about the level of quality of the kinds of things you guys are hearing from us. Yeah. While my laptop is making noise in the background.
Yeah, well, let's not talk about things that are making noise in the background. Got some
it's like it's always on.
Noise. Anyway, so yeah. But if you have like a crappy microphone that makes you sound like a 2-year-old, just go look at that video.
Okay, not a flamethrower unboxing. Polymatic.link JH. Okay, so flamethrowers were a thing, this year? The Boring Company, one of the Musk's companies, decided just to make flamethrowers. And for legal reasons, they had to change the name to Not a Flamethrower. And at least the first 1,000 people or 1,000 people that were in the U.S. Were invited to go pick them up in person. Justine was one of those people, and she had a friend who also happened to order one as well. They were only like $500. I mean, I had a thought about buying one, but I have no good reason to have one.
Why would you buy one?
Just because it's cool, but I would absolutely have no use for it. So I was like, no, don't spend that money. But I thought it was a cool video. I didn't watch the follow-up video yet. I don't even know if it's out yet.
I think the follow-up video is her setting her house on fire by accident and then starting a GoFundMe. Help me.
Yeah, no. Would she... Yeah, you got to watch the video because there's a moment where she's like, oh, yeah, we'll do it right here. And I'm like, oh, no, don't do that. I don't know. I certainly enjoyable watch if you don't follow iJustine. But at the very least, it's very fun. And you get to see when they finally get this thing up and working. So
it's Polymatic.link/JH.
Yes.
Okay, so ink cartridges are a scam, and I totally agree with this because they are a scam. Mm-hmm. So Polymatic.link/J5, very good video. Go watch it. If you still have an inkjet printer, I do have one of them. I have an Epson.
Yeah.
But that thing is pretty good with the ink. But it's like the HPs and the Canons. I've had so many Canons. Well, I like to fire them out of a Canon. That's how I feel about Canon.
Yeah, I mean, I'm using one as a footstool right now. And again, where I keep my printers are in the basement where humidity can be a problem. So the rollers usually slip. They kind of break down after a little bit, even if they don't print a lot. And the only printing I really do is, inconsequential every once in a while, but also primarily for printing out things for people to read on the podcast. So I print at least one page once a week. That's
Yeah.
my
Okay.
that's about the high rate. So 52 pages a year. That's it. That's
Yeah, but the
how much I
thing where,
print.
it conks out is when it starts, because of the chip on board, it will say, "Oh yeah,
Right.
everything is gone. There's no
Right.
more
Yeah.
no more
So
ink."
so
But there
over the
still is.
years, the one I'm using is a footstool, which is just turned off because like when I need to print, it's not working, and so it was just cheaper for me to go over to the store, go buy a brand new one, swap and replace it, plug in the same cables, literally
And
buy
set
the
the
same
old
one.
one on fire.
And the old one, and I literally, this is part of my pileup. It's sitting in the back of the basement, but those things also need to be junked as well. Where they just, and again, it wasn't because it wasn't an ink problem. It was because the rollers were a problem, right? They weren't feeding paper anymore. And so it was cheaper for me to buy a brand new one that came with ink cartridges when it broke than it is to replace the ink cartridges. So when I decided to have that problem again, I just ordered a brand new, but a more upscale version printer that has all the extra stuff on it that I do want, and it's wireless and it works and it sits on the network and everything is fantastic. And it sits over there in a much more drier area of the basement. And so one of their parts, at least with HP, and I don't know whether you like this or not, but this has actually turned out to be great. What they do is they want you to buy a subscription to their inks. So you think, okay, well, that's crap. But here's the deal. I pay $10 a month like once a year. And the reason for that is I went with the mid to low. And what they do is because they have your ink level status, what they end up doing is they only send me in the mail and charge me when I need it again. And so,
but you don't need it again.
And right. So you thought, oh, okay, it's going to cost me $10 a month. I said, but here's the reality. They sent me a brand new, a spare set of cartridges, came with some, gave me more, right? Because I subscribed to the thing, they charged me $10. And then I haven't needed it. And then they sent me out like, I don't know, somewhere along like 8 months later when I was running low, they sent me new cartridges because they projected out like how much ink I was using. And before the year was out, they sent me another in the mail. And those finally came to a conclusion, and I used the spare. And I've yet to send the other ones back. But the thing is, out of a program that's supposed to, in theory, cost me about $120 or $100 a year, I've spent in the last 2-3 years less than $20. I agree with the scam, and I've been aware of all this stuff for a long time. So, Polymatic.link/J5. So yeah, absolutely, so true about this. But my printing rate is so low, and they've surprisingly, it turns out they don't keep sending me in cartridges that I don't need, and they don't keep charging me for what I don't need. So my experience only until recently has been incredibly positive. So I don't know.
I do agree with the guy on laser printers because laser printers don't do this. I'm really happy about that.
No, it's toner. You don't want to crack those things up. That's very toxic stuff. You can poison yourself. You don't, not to mention the fact permanently stain your skin. Yeah. No.
I bought a Samsung laser printer a while back.
Yeah.
That's been pretty good until I dropped it and then it didn't work anymore. It didn't release a magic smoke, but it did release some toner on the floor, so I had to vacuum that up. That was kind of painful.
Given the lower average of my printing rate, I don't even the expense of a laser printer. The other thing is the toner.
I bought it for like $50. It was the same price as the toner.
Over. Yeah, that was the other thing is, I mean, I was used to the world of when laser printers would cost $600 at the low end, and then it would cost you at least another near $200 for one toner cartridge that was supposed to last like, maybe 1,000 pages. And they're meant more for office atmospheres where the volume is high. So.
Well, it was the size of an inkjet printer, so it was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yep. Anyway.
Okay. So one of my favorite things that Bloomberg does is this one weird thing. Like, obviously, they are a TV network here in the U.S. for cable. But Every once in a while, they put out their 1 hour thing when they get around to finishing one. Like it seems like I don't know, maybe like every fiscal quarter or something, they put out one of these. But Hello World is back with the rise of AI. I liked it. I enjoyed it. I'm a fan of this web series. I'm going to call it a web series because they're not, when they have something to put out, they put it out on TV. They put it out on the web. Polymatic.link/JF. Is it Learbird or something? I found the website. I thought about firing up and making, my own AI voice.
Okay.
Did you look at this yet?
Yeah, where's
this is the one where...
Yeah, so there's a part in it where they get somebody to speak, and then within a couple of minutes, was it a couple of minutes?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They imitated his voice, and even with some of the inflections, like his accent, that was pretty nice. Pretty well done.
It very much is a low end version of like the experience everyone saw from Google I/O, and the conversation phone calls, that Google was doing. And so, these guys are a startup, and you can go to the website and you literally can just sign up and then calibrate and do it in a few minutes right from the website.
Yeah, don't do it.
Yeah, but I was like,
AI will have your
I don't
voice.
want to do it. Don't want to do it because then there'll be a version of my voice out there.
But then you can have it call your mom.
Right. So I thought that was kind of lame, but it was kind of like, for him, being a person who's like a technology writer, he's probably not as rooted in like level of understanding as maybe either you or I, of how might it be possible one of us to think about building something like this, right? I'm not sure that I'm immediately at this moment capable of doing that. I think it takes years of of knowing, understanding, and education on the subject. But all right, it's pretty cool, pretty scary. I thought about getting one and just having it read the opener one day for us.
Yeah. That would probably work a lot better.
It might be. It wouldn't flub as much.
Okay. So somebody else who could have used some AI to fix his things. How Star Wars was saved in the edit.
Yes.
Polymatic.link/J8. Another long video, but pretty entertaining when you look at it.
Mm-hmm. It's something I'm intimately aware of because as have made a lot of AMVs. My source material was not mine, but what I did with it, or what I fabricated or created myself or animated myself, right? Okay, so that's what I did in my later years of that stuff. I made it easier for me to build something, edit something, because I was creating actual original content, from the material. But the point of it is that, yeah, absolutely, editors are fundamentally, if not sometimes more important than the director, and then all of the crew that helps film and record stuff. Those people are the 50%, and everyone gives sort of directors for movies or films or whatever projects like all of the glory. But the reality is they're an important component, but they are not all the component, right?
Well, most of the time,
Christopher Nolan, he's the best, whatever. No, his team of editors have a lot to do with how good his products turn out to be. And
but they are usually a long-term working relationship.
And also very, very skilled individuals. Yeah. And also having intimate understanding of the overall high level and low level viewpoints, right?
But I think that George Lucas, the thing that came out this week, something about how he wanted to have, I heard that somewhere. They wanted the third series to be about midichlorians. I'm like, yeah, I understand why that guy, is he did really mess up with this. When I watched this video, I was like, yeah, okay.
But you know what?
We would have never
learning
had
lesson,
Star
right?
Wars.
I mean, my most of my first edits for like music videos didn't I knew what my feeling and my intentions were, and I blocked them out and I planned them and I started filling in the gaps with what I had available to me. And then in my later years, I found it easier to figure out how to animate that stuff myself, or use the existing footage and, mask it and then do reanimate things, and mouth movements or contort or whatever, and, actually create frames of animation out of a thing that didn't exist to give me the context and the flow that I wanted. That was a lot easier for me but it took all the pain points prior to it to figure out why I was struggling so much to complete a project. And so what would take 3 months here and there, 8 hours a week, to go work on a project, started to cultivate down to 40 hours inside the week, or inside of like 2 weeks. Just kill myself on a weekend, just like 10 hours here, and a few hours. And what I would do is I'd go back and recheck it and go, okay, this is not good, that's not good. And you go back and you iterate instead of just trying to plan from, paper or the top of your head and saying, yeah, that's good, and just kind of spew out a video. I will say, technology is really slick today that makes editing very easy. Non-linear editing, right? Basically everything that everyone does today, not using tape-to-tape machines. But in the same respect, when we go to these AMV contests and you're screening, you can see where if this was the best that they could come up with, they didn't actually iterate that much, or they didn't think about it, or they had high confidence that their initial idea in their head was the best idea. And, part of his pain point of not knowing if it was good was to show it to his friends, which this video, this video specifically talks about. And that's good. To have outside perspective is very healthy. And I'm sure from that perspective, he's a much better editor.
Well, at least it got fixed, so that's good.
Yeah, and it got fixed, and it was much better for it. So, these things don't, when people start telling you, oh yeah, I'm amazing, that was my first time video. Right, but that was not your first edit. It was probably not your first attempt. It was probably your 20th attempt. Like, people
Hopefully.
are not prodigies for these things that are extra complicated. If they lie and tell you that's the case, they're lying to you. They're not being as honest and forthcoming. The reality is they got to iterate a lot until they can find out and figure out how to get good at something. That's it. That's how it works.
Okay. Next one.
Sorry to beat that. That was Polymatic.link J8. That was way better than my rant. Okay, so building a vortex tube. So this is a recommendation for this guy. This is Old Tony. I was watching a completely different video. His detent video was actually really good. I enjoyed it quite a bit. The guy's got a little bit of humor. These are long-running kind of videos. There's a lot of them. I subscribe to them. I haven't seen a brand new video yet, but I do recommend you kind of, if you're mild on this video, go explore some of his other ones. The detent one was kind of funny and interesting. And anyhow, so this is building a vortex tube. If you don't know a vortex tube, you'll get educated pretty quickly about how it works, and then you can see him try to explore in making it. Polymatic.link/JG.
It was pretty entertaining. The only problem was the little call bits that he did were not funny.
Oh, that was built on the D10 things.
Oh, okay, but
Yeah, it was built on a premise of other videos that you hadn't seen yet.
Yeah, okay.
So that's probably why. That they make those are way funnier, and you're right. It's more of a callback thing he was doing.
Okay.
So
anyway, so next one is Gorillas Humility. Gorillas are back. Polymatic.link/J9 for that.
Yes. See, I told you, a lot of people releasing all their new music.
Same with books. There's like 3 new books that I wanted to read.
No. And that was Polymatic.link/J9.
Yes.
Okay. Making I'll call it a giant burrito, but making a burrito is tricky. Polymatic.link/JE. Did you watch this video, John?
I already had seen it because I subscribed to her channel, but
Yeah.
yeah, the look, her face looks really really bad towards the end.
Yeah.
I was like, oh no, that does look healthy. No.
To be in full disclosure for this YouTuber, it's also like a sponsored video, but
Yeah,
it's funny. It's funny and it's unique. It's interesting, and immediately it shows its premise very quickly.
Yeah.
So, and I don't subscribe to her anymore, but I adore her. Yeah. I mean, I adore her like as a general person. She seems like coolest person to like know if you know her and you're friends with her.
So next one is muon detector. You can build one yourself. Polymatic
Yes.
link/JC if you ever wanted to get muons. So I don't think you can trap them though. So,
but you get them all the time. You just aren't aware of it.
now you can detect them. See if there's muons.
They're not ghosts; they're muons.
Okay. Polymatic link/JC.
All right, ferrofluid. Ferrofluid is interesting. It's pretty cool, pretty creepy, but pretty cool. Polymatic.link/JI.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
One fear to rule them all. This is one of the Green Brothers initiatives. SciShow Psych. Polymatic link/JA. It's pretty cool. They had I didn't know that the channel existed, so I started following.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of side shows.
Yeah, I know. And they have the
mental
other ones
floss,
too,
psychology. What I hear because of what they've been doing, a lot of schools are just taking time to show their like crash course series in class.
Yeah,
it's amazing.
It's pretty sad if you think
it
about
is pretty sad, but it's a pretty amazing thing for them.
Well, it's a good solution.
Yeah,
right.
But it's also a good babysitter solution. So in just full disclosure, semi not safe for work. Copy TV. My recommendation is don't copy everything you see.
Yeah.
Polymatic.link/JJ.
Okay, next one is Garduino. A guy basically automated his garden. Yeah, it was pretty funny because he's like, yeah, I'm a nerd, and then I decided to go be even more of a nerd. So it's pretty fun. Polymatic link/JB. I actually subscribed to this guy today.
Oh, okay. That's
not
cool.
today, yesterday, but when I was putting in the links.
Right, polymatic.link/JB. There is a TED Talk that is way down in my archive of links for this show, which, maybe if I ever remember, maybe next show to bring it out. There was a guy he was more of an engineer, but he figured out how to grow foods, the hydroponics and all that stuff, but also with Arduino boards and software of controlling lighting systems, very effectively, where they could literally just pull up like a small container, sized, those containers that are like 20 by or 10 by 20 feet or whatever it is people are making like tiny homes out of. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
The shipping containers that are on big ships, where he built a thing that's like, 10 feet by whatever, 15 feet wide or whatever it is. But there's a TED Talk where a guy did a very similar kind of thing, automating a self-contained unit that runs off solar, does its whole thing, self-contained, that you can, grow a farm in. Pretty interesting. I will try to remember to find that for you. Maybe you'll like that. Okay.
I thought it was the next video. I was like, huh?
No. So last video. Okay, so this marketing idea that IHOP is, I don't know if they're anywhere in the other parts of the world, but they're certainly in the U.S. They're called IHOP because of International House of Pancakes, and they predate Apple's use of everything, naming convention.
I think I've been to an IHOP at some point.
Well, I probably took you to one while you were here. But if you want tasty pancakes, IHOP is fantastic. If you want tasty pancakes with a side of diabetes, IHOPs is a perfect
place to
place
go,
for
yeah.
this. But also, if you're not into breakfast foods or pancakes or diabetes, well, they got another form of diabetes for you, and they have all kinds of burgers and all kinds of dinner entrees. And for a franchise restaurant chain, they're pretty good at it. If you really feel this weird inkling for having pancakes stuffed with cheesecake, then IHOP is a fantastic place for you if you want to encourage your diabetes or get some diabetes. You can totally. Now, with that said, I'm saying good and bad things about them. They are perfectly a fine, fun, enjoyable.
Once in a while.
Unless the service sucks, you're going to get a pretty good meal. But they went on a marketing campaign where they were going to call themselves IHOB. And people's like, in 2 weeks, you can guess what the B means, right? And people are like, breakfast? It turns out it was burgers. And so here's a not safe for work parody called, I'm calling iStop. That's not what they called it. Polymatic.link/JK. Oh my God, John. I got another K.
Yeah, you got a J. Just kidding.
Yeah. So there you go. That's it. That's all I got.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. I got music.
Yes, you do. I have some too.
Okay.
Some too. Great.
Okay, cool. This is someone I don't know. I have at least the first couple albums. Apparently, he was on American Idol, whatever it was. But Casey Abrams, and this is the video that I saw him do. And I was like, all right, this guy's a badass. And this is where I bought his albums. I haven't caught up recently what he's been doing, but he makes pretty good music. I like it. Polymatic.link/JL. And this is, I think, probably the song that made him maybe not super famous, but pseudo famous after American Idol. And that was it. Polymatic.link/JL. Casey Abrams, Simple Life. He really knows how to play a cello. And then I got one more. Nope, that's not true. I got two more. The next one I have is Lauren. I'm going to screw up her name. I know it. Aquilina? Would you say that's it?
Aquilina?
Aquilina? Yeah, Lauren Aquilina. She's been more in the business of making basically a singer-songwriter. Making music for others than being the person the face and the voice that you see. But this is an older video of hers, at least a couple years old, called Kicks, Polymatic.link/JM. And last, Tessa Violet. I don't know if I've talked about her in the past. I don't think I have. She used to make, she had a couple albums in the past. She's been sitting on an album that she was going to release, and she's now releasing it. And as of Friday, she released one of the first tracks off the new album. It's kind of interesting. It's different than what she's been putting out before, but I definitely like it. I certainly like the video enough that I watched it more than once. Polymatic.link/JN. This is Tessa Violet with her new track called Crush.
Okay.
John, did you listen to this? Did you watch it? Did you have any opinion about it?
I listened to the first one, the second one, and the third one.
Yeah.
The first one I thought, very hipster, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Like I understand the premise, and I understand going outside and just start playing music. Didn't like the music much, but hey, that's fine. Whatever you think. Yep. I didn't like the second one as much as I did like the third one.
Yeah. And I thought you would. I'm like, oh, this might be a track that John might actually like.
I liked it better than the other two.
Yeah, sure. In contrast.
So,
Yeah.
Anyway, so I got another track by Shirobon, Regain Control. Sounds a lot like Daft Punk. That's probably why it showed up in my my playlist at some point, because I have like a giant list of stuff I like, and I sometimes pull from that for like an extra track on this thing. Yeah, I've played a lot, so that's why it's on the list here today. Polymatic.link/JO. If you like Daft Punk, you'll probably like this. Okay, so Alan, where can they find you?
If you really want to, you can find me on Twitter at CHAESS. That's my last name.
You shouldn't find him. He's totally boring. It's like nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing.
I'm
nothing
mostly just
interesting on his Twitter.
retweeting, lately. Every once in a while I say something of maybe worthiness, and then I delete it.
So if you do want to follow me on Twitter, of course, WEBDEVVIE Twitter. For feedback, you can reach us at podcast@Polymatic.media. Music in this episode is by Say Uns, which you can find at polymatic.link/ek. Our Twitter is The Polymatic. Our website is Polymatic.media, and I hope you tune in next time.
Every time you say uns, I want to go uns, 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 uns.
That's not what it sounds like, though.
I know. It's what I think.
It's going to leave that at the end.
I know. I figured you probably would. I realized as I started doing it, I'm like, uh-oh. That's the quote. That's the sound clip.